Kapila Chandrasena and spouse remanded. Information surfaced that 2 Sri Lankan nationals have been paid through the wife's account. Kabir Hashim reveals how the previous government made decisions at SriLankan Airlines without the knowledge of the subject minister.
ඇමතිවරයා හැටියට මං ඉල්ලන මගේ ડોකියුමන්ට් ටික මට දුන්නේ නැහැ මාව අසරණ කරා. නමුත් මම ඒගොල්ලෝ පත් කරේ නැහැ. මට ඒක කරන්න දෙයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ.
Government informed Supreme Court that Sri Lanka-Singapore Free Trade Agreement will be revisited. Protesters obstructing the golf face green removed.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandro Ferdinando.
And I'm Yuki Posha. Let's start off with a look at your local news. Former SriLankan Airlines CEO Kapila Chandrasena and his wife Priyanka Niyomali Vijay Naika were remanded until the 19th of February by the Fort Magistrates Court. Fort Magistrate Ranga Naika issued the remand order after dismissing bail applications filed by the accused today.
The suspects have been accused of obtaining a bribe of $2 million while purchasing 10 Airbus aircraft to Sri Lankan Airlines before depositing it in a bank account in Singapore and then transferring it to a bank account in Australia. Both individuals had been arrested after surrendering before the Criminal Investigations Department. They were then produced before Fort Magistrate Ranga Naika. Deputy Solicitor General Thusit Mudalige, appearing for the Attorney General, said that both accused had maintained that they were not aware of money being deposited to the female suspect's bank account or how the account was opened. They had also denied any connection to these events. However, Deputy Solicitor General Thusit Mudalige said the sum of $2 million deposited to the female suspect's account was transferred to an account maintained by either one or two individuals in Sri Lanka. He pointed out that as the agreement signed for the purchase of the aircraft was not enforced, the Sri Lankan government will have to pay the money deposited to the said account along with the interest. The Deputy Solicitor General told court that granting a bail to the suspects before the investigations were over could compromise their efforts as the investigations are complex in nature. Parliamentarian Anrakumara Dissanayake raised questions in Parliament with regard to the Airbus deal.
The then Executive Board of Sri Lankan Airlines gathered at your official residence to discuss this purchase agreement. I even revealed this matter in Parliament back then. At that point, Kapila Chandrasena served as the Chief Executive Officer of the airline. He had been receiving allowances while working at Telecom and Sri Lankan Airlines. All of this information had been revealed to Parliament. Despite such claims, he was appointed as the chairman of Sri Lankan Airlines during the 52-day political crisis. I would like to know why the government trusts him so much. We urge the government to initiate legal proceedings against this matter and to work towards obtaining the original documents from the UK government.
We will take all legal action against this matter. We hope to make a detailed statement in this regard tomorrow.
In addition to the intermediaries benefiting from the bribes, the country was made to incur an additional cost of more than $98 million due to the UNP-led government cancelling an agreement to obtain 4 A350 aircraft on lease basis. In addition to the cancellation of the agreement, several aircraft that lacked proper standards were also obtained on lease. After I took over as subject minister in November 2015, we consulted Naira's consultancy and Skyworks Solutions to assess whether purchasing an A350-900 aircraft would be a loss for the airline. We not only discussed this matter, but presented a detailed report to the Economic Management Committee as well. We said if we had to pay a penalty, we would try to reduce the penalty to less than $58 million. The Valley Amuna report clearly mentions all the corrupt activities that took place at Sri Lankan Airlines during the previous regime. All of this were handed over to the FCID. I was not the minister in charge of the police, but as the subject minister, I took all the legal measures possible within my capacity. I did not appoint Kapila Chandrasena to the position of CEO of Sri Lankan Airlines. Chandrasena was appointed by your government. The chairman during our time was Ajit Dias. I did not appoint Suren Ratpatta. When I took over as the minister in charge, he was already appointed. So who appointed these individuals and gave them positions? The former finance minister's consultant was behind reducing the fine to $98 million. Where was the finance ministry's secretary at that time?
ලේකම් කොයිද හිටියේ? ගුවන් යාන 6 වැඩි
Evidence pertaining to the purchase of 6 aircrafts at higher rates was submitted to the Presidential Commission. The Attorney General's Department too were informed about this in order to obtain legal advice to cancel the purchase. We acted upon that opinion. There is written proof for that. I informed the Finance Ministry that the Executive Board of SriLankan Airlines had acted in a friendly manner at that time. I was not given documents and I requested as a minister. I was left helpless, but I could not do anything about it.
ඒක කරන්න දෙයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. හැබැයි විෂය භාර ඇමතුමා කියනවා ඩොලර් මිලියන 85කට
The subject minister claims that it could have been purchased for $85 million, but he was not allowed to do so. Due to this, the government suffered a loss of $13 million. Ultimately, it is the general public that pays the price.
මේ ශ්‍රී ලංකන් එයාර්ලයින් එකේ පාඩුවට.
Several factions today stated that officials alone could not take decisions pertaining to the Airbus deal. They added that the culprits should be brought before the law. There is no point of catching only Kapila Chandrasena. How did this contact and dealings take place? Who did it? These should be investigated. Yesterday, we saw Mahindananda Alutgamage stating that Kapila Chandrasena is out of the country. But Mahindananda Alutgamage failed. They tried to send Kapila out of the country before a court order is issued for his arrest. However, he couldn't flee the country. This is because the entire country, especially those at the airport, know who Kapila is. If anyone had spotted him, they would have notified the CID or the CID unit at the airport. Surrendering is not the point here. It should be investigated as to who benefited through this deal and under whose advice were they carried out. According to information received by us, this $2 million bribe has been divided among other individuals in addition to Kapila Chandrasena and his wife. The country needs to know as to who benefited through this money, who served as the chairman of SriLankan Airlines at that time. It was the brother of Mahinda Rajapaksa's wife. The people cannot believe that Kapila Chandrasena, who worked under the brother-in-law of Mahinda Rajapaksa, could have benefited greatly without his knowledge. Therefore, an investigation needs to be carried out into this matter. We told that this was wrong and that we did not require these aircraft. Accordingly, we cancelled the purchase. Then we had to pay a cancellation fee. We paid $98 million to Airbus. This money should be retrieved as Airbus has sold the aircraft at higher rates by bribing these officials.
ඒකත් අපි නැවත ලබා ගන්නට ඕනේ.
එක නිලධාරියෙකුට තනියම
A single officer cannot commit such an act. The cabinet which gave approval should be held responsible along with the officials who permitted the purchases. Recording evidence on pieces of paper and debating the matter in parliament for 2 or 3 days does not serve a purpose. Action must be taken against those responsible within a month after appointing a presidential commission. If action is not taken after investigating the matter, the people will view it as an attempt to sweep the case under the carpet.
යටිමඩි ගහන්න කරන උත්සාහයක් ඇටියට මිනිස්සු දකීවි.
While much controversy has surrounded the Airbus deals, the forensic audit reports on the central bank bond scam are also widely discussed. Convening a media briefing yesterday, former Governor Ajit Niwad Kabra said he cannot accept the COPE report, Presidential Commission report and the forensic audit reports. He requested the police to conduct an investigation in this regard. Here are some of the views expressed on the statements made by the former central bank governor.
අගමැතිතුමා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ කියනවා මේක ජනාධිපතිතුමයි නීතිපතිතුමයි මේකට ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්න ඕනේ කියන.
The Prime Minister made a request in Parliament that the President and the Attorney General must take action in this regard. Senior advisors of the Prime Minister, Ajit Niwad Kabral, said that the police should look into this. So the Prime Minister says one thing and his advisor says another. They are trying to pass the buck. The forensic audit reports revealed a lot of things we were not aware of. All these companies together have created billions of losses to the Employees Provident Fund. The working people deserves justice.
වැඩ කරන ජනතාවගේ මුදල් වලට සාධාරණයක් කරන්න.
අද එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ විසින් කරපු බැඳුම් කර වංචාව අද ඉතාමත් සූක්ෂම කාලයෙන් උත්සාහ කරනවා අද පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ වෙත එකතු කරන්න.
The United National Party is attempting to put the central bank bond scam blame on the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna. We remember how Sunil Handunetti in his COPE report did not mention Ranil Wickremesinghe or any other minister's names in the report. The blame was solely put on the officials. That's what they wanted to prove through the COPE report. They have always tried to cover up the fraudulent activities they committed.
මේ සියල්ලගෙම කරන්නේ මේ වංචා වහන්න උත්සාහ කරපු එක පමණයි.
නිවත් කප්රාල් මැතිතුමනි ඔබතුමාලා වහගෙන හිටපු ඒ සුදු සලුව එළියට අවිල්ල. බලයි කළු චරිතද එළියට එනවා.
Don't deceive the people of this country anymore. The people have seen the reality. If anyone from our government is involved, they shouldn't be kept hidden. A general election is approaching. People are waiting to send certain people home. The law should be enforced on those who rob the earnings of the people of this country.
මුදල් හොරකම් කරපු ඒ උදවිය වෙනුවත් නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක විය යුතු.
වාරික විගණනයේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ විවාදයක් පැවැත්වෙනවා.
A debate on the forensic report will be held in Parliament. I think it is not the politicians who should debate on the forensic audits. Those in the fields of auditing and accountancy should debate on this. According to the forensic audit, nothing has taken place during Mahinda Rajapaksa's era. I am someone with the knowledge of the relevant field. The electronic bidding system detects any irregularities then and there. We will intervene if someone from our time should be punished for being involved in this.
මේ හොරකම සිද්ධ වෙච්ච අයට පූර්ණ දඬුවම් දීම සඳහා අපි මැදිහත් වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, civil and political activists pointed out today that legal action must be taken against those responsible for the Airbus transactions and the central bank bond scam.
විවිධ අක්‍රමිකතා දූෂණයන් සම්බන්ධයෙන්
Those accused of committing various wrongdoings all of a sudden go missing once investigations are launched. We have witnessed many cases like this of people who fled the country. Udayanga Veeratunga, Arjuna Mahendran and Jaliya Vikramasuriya are just a few examples. Now the forensic audit reports have been released. There are many to point fingers at. The former central bank governor Ajit Niwad Cabral has already started to convene media briefings over this matter. He is accusing the audit firm that prepared the forensic audit reports. When the finger has been pointed towards the thief, launch an investigation into this matter instead of speaking of the finger that has been pointed. Remember, when investigations are launched, the past is erased. There is no point in closing the stable after horses escape. We urge everyone to take action and ensure these perpetrators will not leave the country and escape the law.
රටෙන් පැනලා යන්න බැරි වෙන විදියට ආරක්ෂක දැලේලන්න.
ජාලිය වික්‍රමසූරිය ගල් වුණා එක වෙලාවක.
Jaliya Vikramasuriya disappeared at one point. Udayanga Veeratunga went missing in 2015 and is yet to return to Sri Lanka. Arjuna Mahendran disappeared to Singapore. He will not return to the island as he is the main suspect in the central bank bond scam. We all witnessed how the former chief executive officer of SriLankan Airlines and his spouse had defrauded the airline. They had to surrender as the problem went too far. Now firms that prepare the forensic audit reports are not good enough. Cabral is afraid of being arrested. In a few more days, Cabral too will disappear. If we are to prevent such a situation from occurring, we must ensure the passports of those who are named in the forensic audit must be impounded. We urge the President to take legal action against the wrongdoers before they leave the country and disappear. We urge him to impose a travel ban against these individuals until legal proceedings conclude, as he stole nearly 30 billion rupees of public funds.
මේ රටේ ජනතාවගේ සල්ලි මිලියන 30000ක් කොල්ල කෑවේ මේ දෙගොල්ලෝ.
Moving on, the Attorney General's Department informed the Supreme Court this morning that the government has decided to review the Sri Lanka-Singapore Free Trade Agreement signed during the previous administration. Now, the stance was officially communicated to the Supreme Court by Senior State Counsel Nirmalan Vigneswaran, appearing for the Attorney General.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka, the Government Medical Officers Association and 6 other organizations filed a fundamental rights petition at the Supreme Court seeking to declare the agreement signed on the 23rd of January 2018 as void, citing it as being detrimental to the government and the people of the country. Senior State Counsel Nirmalan Vigneswaran told a Supreme Court judge bench Vijit Malalgoda, LTB Dehideniya and P. Padman Surasena about the decision to review the agreement. Further hearing of the petition has been fixed to the 13th of June.
Although there was huge opposition over the trade agreements which we signed, nothing is being spoken about the free trade agreement with Singapore. The agreement states that any country could terminate the agreement if it is unsuitable. If the present government, which criticized us for signing the agreement at that time, want to terminate it, they could do so. But they didn't do it. They clearly rejected the MCC agreement. They put forth that stance as a condition to win votes. According to the mandate that they received, I wish to ask the government whether it is okay to appoint a committee to review the agreement. According to the government's standpoint, the MCC should have been terminated. The committee appointed to review the agreement says that the public opinion should be sought. What is there to inquire from the public? Around 6.9 million people voted to cancel the MCC agreement. Therefore, there is no need to seek the public opinion again.
එදා MCC කිවිසුම අවලංගු කරන්න කියලා. එහෙනම් ආපහු ජනතාවගෙන් අහන්න ඕනේ.
The Parliament's Committee on Public Finance has decided to call for the observations of the Central Bank on the forensic audit report on the issuance of Treasury bonds.
Issuing a statement, the Parliament's Department of Communication said that Central Bank officials were asked to submit their observations during the next committee meeting on the 18th of February. This decision had been made during a committee meeting held yesterday. During the meeting, the committee had refused to approve the reduction of VAT rates up to 8% under Section 2A of the Value Added Tax Act and had decided to call for a financial justification on the reduction of value added tax. In addition, the committee had also refused to approve the increment of excise rates imposed on tobacco or tobacco substitute products under Section 3 of Excise Special Provisions Act No. 13 of 1989. The Committee on Public Finance had directed Finance Ministry officials to request the attendance of officials attached to the National Authority on Tobacco and Alcohol to be present at the next meeting.
In more local news, several groups, including employees of state institutions, university students and teachers, staged protests in Colombo today. Most of the protests took place opposite the presidential secretariat.
Assistant officers attached to the Health Ministry's National Dengue Control Unit, terminated employees of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, project assistants at ministries and depositors at the Gampaha Sanasa Bank took part in these protests. Among the demands were calls to expedite the issuance of pensions and the reinstatement of officers. A group claiming to have lost their jobs at the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation since the new government came into power staged a protest demanding to reinstate them in service. Their protest outside the presidential secretariat took place for the 8th day.
Our children have decided to end their lives. They are affected to that extent. We humbly request the president to give us back our jobs. We don't need our overdue salaries.
Members of the All Island Project Assistance Collective staged a protest around issues faced while reporting to work despite being issued appointment letters.
There are 7,500 of us. Since the 16th of September, we do not have a job. We left our previous jobs to move to our new workplace. Now we have lost both. We don't want a special agitation site to engage in protests. What we want is for employment based on our qualifications.
Meanwhile, individuals attached to the collective of retired Triforces personnel staged a protest outside the presidential secretariat. They demanded that steps be taken to grant pensions for retired soldiers.
When we retire in January of 2016, they said, here is your salary worth 35,000 rupees. We were told that our salaries would be increased by 10,000 rupees and 15,000 rupees by January of 2020. Now there is a supplementary estimate. Weren't soldiers and retired state officials being considered? All state workers worked on behalf of our country. This has become a country where all of you are on our shoulders. Do not bring circulars which do not pay pension until the demise of retired soldiers. We request that our overdue payments be given to us along with our salary in March.
Meanwhile, depositors at the Gampaha Sanasa Bank staged a protest outside the presidential secretariat. They demanded that their pensions be granted immediately. Members of the Ceylon Teacher Services Union staged a protest at the Fort Railway Station before proceeding towards the presidential secretariat. Their protest revolved against the failure to provide pensions for retired teachers.
Pay retired teachers their pensions in keeping with the circulars issued in agreement with the Finance Ministry. Otherwise, we will carry out massive protests throughout the country. We came to the presidential secretariat to deliver the message that we are ready to resort to other means if we fail to win our demands.
The protesters, who were given a chance to discuss their concerns at the presidential secretariat, claimed that the talks had ended in a stalemate. This is the manner in which they staged a protest by obstructing the Gaul Road near the presidential secretariat. Our correspondent noted that officers attached to the police anti-riot squad arrived at the location. The protesters were removed from the road before being sent to the agitation site.
Various opinions were expressed today regarding the allocation of the agitation site near the presidential secretariat.
මේ ස්ථානයක් වෙන් කිරීමෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ එතෙන්ටම ඇවිල්ලා උද්ඝෝෂණය කරන්න කියන එක නෙවෙයි.
By reserving a space for it, we don't expect people to protest there. In the future, graduates are able to come there and protest. Due to the inconvenience caused to the innocent public by these protests, the president decided to reserve a place for that purpose. If you look back 4 months ago, people were not allowed to even come close to that area.
අඩු ගානේ උ ළඟටවත් එන්න දෙන්නේ නැහනේ.
උද්ඝෝෂණය කරන අයගේ ප්‍රශ්න අමතක කරලා
Forgetting the demands of the protesters, not providing them with justice and cornering them to an isolated area is not a solution for their grievances. The general public might be hindered by the protests that should be solved, but the answer is to provide solutions to the protesters and not dictate where they should and should not protest.
අතන උද්ඝෝෂණය කරන්න කියන එක නෙමෙයි.
ඔබතුමාලා කොහේර අයිනක දාලා උද්ඝෝෂණය කරන්න තැන් වෙන් කරාම පහක් එකක් දාලා ඔබතුමාලගේ ඇස් වලට කන් වලට මේව දැනෙයිද මේ හැංගි මේ කරයිද එහෙම
ඉතින් අපි බලබලනේ යන්නේ එතනින් ගෝල් පෙස් එක ළඟින් යනකොට පේන්නේ නැත්තම් ඉතින්
බලබල යනවා
දෘශ්‍ය ආබාධිතනේ බලබල යනවා නෙමෙයි අපි ගිහලා අපි කියන්නේ එහෙම උද්ඝෝෂණ කරන්න කාටවත් අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැහැ.
Speaking in Parliament, UNP MP SM Amir Ali said that a group of people are attempting to intimidate people in Calcutta.
Certain people are trying to intimidate people living in Calcutta. Certain people are threatening to take these people to the CID if they don't do things such as creating issues or casting their vote to port tour. I responsibly state that the president should take this into consideration. The government faction ministers and MPs must look into this. New motorcycles have been given without any number plates. Then they say that they are from Gotabaya's team. They also threaten that these people will be taken to the authorities or abducted if they talk unnecessarily.
Meanwhile, withholding tax on any payments is to be abolished with effect from January 1st, 2020 as instructed by the Ministry of Finance on pending formal amendment to the Inland Revenue Act number 24 of 2017. Will the abolishment of withholding taxes result in a revenue shortfall for the government?
Accordingly, withholding agents, including employers, are instructed not to deduct any withholding or payee on payments to be made, and any deduction after 1st January 2020 should be paid back to the respective person. However, withholding taxes will continue to apply to be implied at 14% on the amounts paid as winning as lottery, reward, betting or gambling, and 2.5% on the sale of any gems at an auction conducted by the National Gem and Jewellery Authority. Tax expert N.R. Gajendran highlighted that the individuals will be benefited, but on a macro point of view, there will be greater challenges on the revenue shortfalls.
The government has made a conscious decision to reduce taxes, and this was a promise they made, I think, in the election, even in the manifesto. Of course, challenges will be there for the government on revenue shortfalls, and how it is going to be bridged or gapped has not been effectively pronounced to the public. But there is expectation that economic activity will grow, and there will be additional revenue that will flow in. But that will be in the cannot be in the short term. It will be in the longer term. There can be additional revenue coming. Also, there are some explanation given that interest rates can come down because of that cost of interest could come down. There is also they are expecting the exchange rate to improve so that debt repayments situations will be improved. But these things has to be seen. But there will be a huge revenue shortfall immediately. From the month of January, February itself, which will get magnified over a period of time, and these revenue shortfalls have to be dealt with. If not, they'll have to curb expenditure, and I believe the first casualty will be the capital expenditure, where large-scale investments may be curtailed going forward.
Let's now take a look at some news from the stock exchange.
The Colombo Stock Exchange ended positively today, with the all-share price index gaining 0.10% to close at 5,948.27. The S&P SL20 ended 0.05% less today to close at 2,839.56. Daily turnover stood at 570 million rupees. Let's now take a look at currency movements.